Hello, my name is Susan Angevin, and I'm very happy to be with you here today to read a story called Daniel Finds a Poem by Misha Archer. What is a poem? A poem is a collection of words that expresses feelings, ideas, observations, can even tell a story. They come in all different shapes and sizes. Some are short like haiku, and in others, the lines rhyme like a nursery rhyme. In this story, a little boy sees a sign in the park for a poetry reading, and he wonders, what's poetry? He goes into the park and he asks his animal friends if they know. Each one gives a different answer. Keep track of the answers, you'll see why at the end. The book is illustrated with beautiful collages by the author, who is also an artist. When we're finished, I will show you how to make your own collages out of recycled materials. Daniel Finds a Poem by Misha Archer. Daniel knows all the rocks, trees, and animals in the park. On Monday morning, Daniel sees something new on the park gate. A sign reads, "Poetry in the Park, Sunday at 6 o'clock. What is poetry? Daniel says. He looks up in surprise when he hears Spider say, "To me, poetry is when morning dew glistens." Does anyone know what dew is? Yes. It's the water drops that appear on flowers or on the grass in the early morning or in the evening. Isn't this an amazing design? The spider web, 16 spokes in this one, and then circles going round and round. Each spider web is different. It's really sort of a miracle how it happens, even if it is a trap for the spider to catch its insects for meals. On Tuesday, Daniel climbs the old oak tree. He sees Squirrel. Squirrel, do you know what poetry is? Poetry is when crisp leaves crunch, Squirrel tells him. Let's say that together. Crisp leaves crunch. Is that what it sounds like when you walk through the leaves in the fall? Do you know what kind of leaves these are? You see with the rounded lobes, we call them. And then hint is there's also acorns on the ground. Acorns and leaves. Which tree is that? You're right, an oak tree. And what time of year? Colored leaves on the ground, it must be fall. On Wednesday, Daniel calls into Chipmunk's hole. Chipmunk, can you tell me what poetry is? See his little acorns in this hole? He's already getting ready for the winter. Poetry. Poetry is a home with many windows and an old stone wall. Do you see chipmunks scurrying around in the fall? I do. They're gathering the acorns to store for the winter. On Thursday, Daniel makes a boat with a leaf for a sail and watches the wind sail it across the pond. He calls quietly to Frog. Frog, excuse me, what is poetry? Poetry, says Frog, is a cool pool to dive in. See, look at the boat with the oak leaf as a sail. What else is in the pond? I see a couple of fish and 1, 2, 3, 4 tadpoles. Who knows what a tadpole is? That's right. It's when a frog is very young and it has a tail, but no legs. And once it loses its tail and grows its legs, it's now a frog. It has lungs and it can live on land. It's called an amphibian. On Friday, Daniel parts the cattails and finds Turtle. Hello, Turtle. I have a question. Do you know what poetry is? I think poetry is sun-warmed sand, Turtle says. On Saturday afternoon, Daniel finds Cricket in the shade of the slide. When the shadows are long, Cricket fills the air with his music. Is this poetry to you, Cricket? Singing at twilight when the day is done? Indeed it is, Daniel. That night, moonlight fills Daniel's room. He hears a hoo, hoo. Leaning from his window, he calls to Owl. Owl, what is poetry? Ah, poetry is bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. Good night, dear Daniel, she whispers and flies off into the night. On Sunday, the sun wakes up Daniel. He is happy when he remembers it's Sunday. Today is poetry in the park, says Daniel, and I have a poem. Can you guess what it might be? Morning dew glistens, crisp leaves crunch. There's a home with many windows in the old stone wall. Cool pools to dive in, sun-warmed sand to lie in. Singing at twilight when the day is done. Bright stars in the branches, moonlight on the grass, and silent wings to take me wherever I go. What a beautiful poem. On the way home, Daniel stops to watch the sunset sky reflecting in the pond. That looks like poetry to me. To me too, says Dragonfly. See, there's the dragonfly. So I have a few questions for you. How does Daniel find his poem and how does he create it? He gets the ideas from his friends on his walks in the park. Is there anything that you've seen lately or heard or felt that maybe caught your eye or really made you stop and think or made you smile? We all have poems inside us. This morning I was eating breakfast, looked out the window, and a flurry of yellow leaves came flying by. That's poetry to me. Do you think you could write a poem? I think you could. If you keep your eyes and your ears open and you listen carefully, maybe next time you go for a walk outside, you'll find your own poem. I hope you will. So now, are you ready to make a collage? Here's a collage that I made using recycled boxes and grocery bags and 2 acorn caps for the eyes of the owl. We're going to make one like that. And here's how we start. These are the types of materials. You know, there's an ice cream box, mac and cheese, anything, cereal, anything that you have lying around the house in your recycling bag that can be flattened, cardboard, and used, and grocery bag, of course. How I would start is by taking your piece of construction paper. I think a nice black paper works well, but it can be any color. And then take a piece of paper and draw some shapes for the 2 main body shapes. The head, you see, and the body. And cut that out from plain paper and position it on your construction paper so you can see that you'll have room for the legs and for the ears of the owl. And once you've got that, then you can take your guides and, for instance, here's a box and I'm going to trace the head on here, and then I can cut it out. It's the easiest way I found. Just use a pen or a marker to trace it, and then just cut it out. Voila, there is the head for our owl. Now, before we go any further, I wanted to show you the other materials you're going to need, which is a ruler, glue stick or Elmer's glue. Glue stick for most of the time, but the Elmer's glue works best with the acorn caps. Scissors, and pencil, eraser, and a pen. And then the materials I already showed you. So go ahead and have fun. Okay, so we've got our two shapes cut from the boxes, the body, and I'm going to put the body down first, and then I'll glue the head. And I'm just using glue stick. You might want to use Elmer's glue, whatever works for you. And I just put some glue in the back. You know how to do this. Then position it just like that. Then I'll do the same with the head. It's nice, there's just a few pieces for this collage. Makes it pretty easy for us. And then we position this right there. So we have the head and the body. Now, the next step will be to cut out the feet. And I just did sort of what I would think of as owl feet, you know. You see, just with three claws. And cut those out of whichever box you want. So let's glue the feet on. Okay. So now we just, again, glue the back of the feet and put them down. One. And here's the second. You can move them around just so they're where you want them to be. There we go. Sometimes you just rub it down like that. We have feet. Okay, so now the next part, which is a little bit more complicated, but not that hard, is the face. So let's take the acorn caps. Remember the acorn caps that we gathered from outside? Just take an acorn and take the cap off. We're going to put the eyes down with the round side up, and then we have a beak, and we have ears. Let's see, start with the ears. And they're just triangles, and I cut out a second little triangle for sort of a feather effect, for a feather. So there's those, there's these, and then there's room for the eyes. So for the eyes, I'm going to actually use the Elmer's glue, rather than the glue stick, because I really want to get a lot of glue on the rim. You actually do it right on the, okie doke, here we go. Right on the rim. May need to put a little extra glue. And then want to sort of center them. One. Hold it down for like a count of 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we'll glue the other one. Same way, putting the glue on the rim of the cap. These will probably take about 15 minutes to dry, so you need to just leave them here. Okay. Next, let's put the ears on, and then let's do the same for the second ears. Now we need the beak. There we go. Let's put the beak down. Eyes. They're going to take a while, remember? So we're going to leave them be. And now the fun part. What's left? We need to put on the feathers. Okay. So what you get to do is just rip up, take that piece of grocery bag and just start ripping off pieces that, you know, could be feathers, and lie them down on this either side of the owl, and we're going to glue them down. 1, 2, 3. I'll put just a few more feathers on, and then we'll wrap it up. I hope you've had fun making your collage. Voila! There is your recycled materials owl. Okay, so now we've finished our owl, and I hope you had fun making the collage and reading Misha Archer's book, Daniel Finds a Poem. I know I did. I work at the Arnold Arboretum, which is a public park and tree museum in Boston. The park's gardens and woods and meadows and ponds are just filled with things to discover and explore any day of the week. It's open 7 days a week from sunrise to sunset, and it's free. I hope that you'll come visit us someday soon, and maybe you'll meet some friends, make new friends like Daniel's friends, and hopefully you'll find a poem or two. Thank you.